Morning. It's always a pleasure to come back to the institute where I spent 5 years, not because I could not graduate in 4 years. I did graduate in 4 years, then I did my MTech also here. So thank you for having me. Quickly to talk about the specific topic that I'm interested in, the growth. Is there anybody who is not interested in growth? It is extremely hard to find any hand going up anywhere in the world if you don't want to grow in your life. Now, it doesn't matter professional life or a personal life, there is an interest to grow. Now, what is the meaning of the growth? If you think about it, try to answer it in a few seconds, not an easy one. N number of parameters will pass through your mind, N number of characteristics, and all of those parameters will keep changing when you go from high school, graduation, professional life, married life. Throughout the life, those parameters will keep taking a different weightage. Some of those parameters will completely vanish also, right? So, just to give a definition of what is growth. You can click. Thank you. One more. It's about the growing the span and the set of decisions that we make constantly in our lives, right? The span is nothing to do with how many people work for you, how many people above you or anything of that nature, right? The span and the decisions go together hand in hand there. When you make a set of decisions, what is the impact of the decision on the set of 3 parameters that I call? One of them is you are into to do something, whether you call it as a product development or a social service or anything like that. At the end of it, you are doing something to make a difference, and I would call it as a content that you are working on. Now that would have a huge difference in the set of decisions that you make. I will elaborate on each one of them a little bit more. The second one, the teams that you work with, whether the team members who are part of your team or the set of peer teams that you work with elsewhere, could be within the organization, could be outside of the organization like partners and all that. But there are set of decisions that you would make which will make a difference to the set of the team members that you would work with. The third one, at the end of it, whatever you would deliver, whatever you would produce is consumed by somebody, and that somebody is the customer. The customer has impact based on the set of decisions that you make. So the decisions that we make have an impact on the content that you deliver, the team members that you work with, and the customers who consume your content that you deliver. Now, going a little bit beyond that, when we make a set of decisions, there are repetitive decisions that we make. Now, if you go back a little bit, the set of tasks that we do on a regular basis, all of them could be right at the beginning when you were a high school student or even as a graduate student now. How many of you will be able to control the syllabus that you study? How many of you actually made a decision to select a subject in a particular semester? You will make a decision when you come to the final year or maybe even third year because you have an option to select an elective, but that is a decision by itself, right? But otherwise, there are set of decisions that we make on a repeated way, and those tasks you tend to more look as a completing the task and follow what you are told to do and then done with it. Whether it is a syllabus that you sit and study for, exams that you write, or the internals that you attend, and at the end of it, there is an exam that you write and done with it, right? But those keep happening throughout the student life. They are repetitive in nature. Move on to the next one, where there is a set of framework that you would have, a set of constraints under which you are expected to work, expected to make the decisions. Moving further up, there are a set of judgment calls that you would make as depending on what you are doing or whichever project that you might be working on, right? So starting from a repetitive to a set of decisions that you will make in a constraint or under the framework, and then you will start making the decisions based on the judgment. Now, click one more. Those I would call as the set of repetitive tasks that you do are more you are told to do and you follow and do it. Then the next one is more related to the results oriented. There is a quantifiable result that you would have for which you target and you go after achieving them, right? And then finally the trend or the judgment based. It's also called, say, strategic in nature. So overall, repetitive or operational, rule based or the framework based under which there are set of constraints, and then there is a strategic set of decisions that you will make based on the judgments or the statistics and the trend that you would see based on which you make a decision. Now, in each one of them, one more, this, as you move diagonally in that direction from the bottommost square to the topmost right square, there is the decision making that impact, connecting back to what I told you earlier, what you deliver, the teams that you work with, and the customers who consume what you deliver. Every one of them has an impact based on the set of decisions, repetitive or the rule based or the judgment based. Now, at the end of it, these set of decisions will make a difference to the three parameters that I called out. At the same time, during the life, as you move from one phase of your life to the next phase of your life, these parameters will start taking a difference, weightage. Do you know, are you able to articulate to yourself what are these weightages? Starting from getting a score in the exam or all the way to at the end of the retirement, so-called retirement life, if there is one, you start thinking about, okay, what is that I need to have at that phase of my life? During that, will you be able to recognize whether you have grown or not? To what extent will you be able to think through in advance, this is what is the meaning of growth to me? The set of parameters that I defined earlier, or the three parameters, basic parameters that I called out, to what extent can you articulate your own life and how do you define the growth for yourself? Now, just a few quick tips, what I call professional life. How do you know whether you are growing in your professional life? The parameters that I explained earlier, apply them and see how best you can articulate to that yourself. To become a successful professional, and I'm going to have a couple of points on how to be a successful human being also. Professional network. Professional network because you have a certain knowledge, certain experience, and around you there are people who are either more experienced or more with people with more knowledge, and those, do you know how to connect to them? Do you have the habit of building that network and nurturing that network? There is constantly a learning opportunity by asking questions, by answering questions. I keep talking about this on a regular basis. It is easier to ask questions and learn, but do we have the habit of answering questions and learning? If I get to answer question 1 is answered, 2 is answered, 3 is answered, then this constantly happens in anybody's professional life. If I constantly encourage people to come and talk, come and ask me questions, that gives me an opportunity for me to learn, because the folks who are asking questions, they expect me to answer it. If I don't know the answer, it is an opportunity for me to go and learn. If I don't encourage people to ask me, there is a loss of opportunity. That's how I see it, as asking questions, learning from others, at the same time answering questions is a huge part of learning. See how best you will be able to encourage in your own way, and that is very much part of building the network. Get ready for opportunities. How many of us can actually recognize when there is an opportunity in front of you? Opportunity doesn't come in front of you and knock the door. Do you know how to recognize? You will be able to recognize only if you know what are the parameters that make a difference to your life, and when do you consider those parameters make a difference for your growth. See how best you will be able to define that, articulate that. That will make you enable you to recognize those opportunities. Think and breathe like a customer. At the end of it, we all have few things that we want to give back, whether we make the money out of it or the social service. Either way, whether there is a commercial interest or not, at the end of it, there are few things that we produce, we deliver for somebody to consume, and that consumer, I'm referring it as a customer. If whatever you deliver doesn't have a value, or the customer or the consumer is not able to recognize the value that you bring in, what you deliver is not going to be consumed in the way you want it to be, or it is not even going to get consumed other way. So overall, can you think, can you breathe like a customer? Otherwise, whatever is your purpose of producing that content was useless. Basic fundamentals of successful professional. When I talk about the human being, now again, at the end of it, it's a one physical body, one mind, one heart, right? Professional versus the human being, not easy to distinguish between them and act as two different faces of the same coin. We are the same person at the end of it. To be a human being, to be a successful human being, to what extent do you take care of the issues that come in front of you? The journey of growing will come with its own obstacles, will come with its own set of issues. Do you have the habit of taking those issues, taking those obstacles face to face and actually solve them? However best you can solve them, whether you call it as the best way to solve it or not, or through the help of others within your professional network or within your personal network, to what extent can you take the help to solve it? Now, perfectly fine to take the help. At the end of it, do you have the habit of taking the issues that come across in your way and solving them? Work through your heart and not just brain. Not an easy one. This is where the passion kicks in. Once there is a debatable word in that last bullet, which is the work part. When you work, do you have the passion? If you have the passion, would you call it as work? Because you like it so much, right? So overall, when there are set of things that you define for your own life, how do you want to call as a growth? And in different phases of your life, what it means to the customers who consume, what it means to the set of decisions that you make for your team members, as well as the content that you deliver, and put your heart beyond the brain power that you would have through the education to everything else, right? So put the heart, it is possible to deliver in the best possible way, and you will see the tangible growth as well as the intangible growth. Very easy to do, been practicing it. Don't know whether I have practiced the best way or not, but however, the self-satisfaction that I get based on the parameters that I have defined for my own life, able to come out with this. Thank you. Wish you the best as a professional as well as a human being. Enjoy the rest of the day.